To be a successful punter or a successful gambler, you need to know what's actually driving those prices, what's driving the market. You need to have
Julian Vallance,
a former handicapper, form analyst, and punter
with one of the sharpest minds in the game.
To be honest, I'm probably a very, very emotional person, but when it comes to punting, extremely unemotional. I always say that the horse has to go from point A to point B the fastest possible way. You're just looking at the form of each individual horse, and is it because it's better on wet tracks? Is it because it needs a dry track? Is it because this jockey who hasn't ridden it before now goes on and he's got great stats?
Can I ask, AI? This sounds like it's perfect fit for AI, right? What about you guys? Are you guys trying to build a model?
Yeah, 100%. So at Foxcatcher, we're trying to build a model, absolutely. You just got to invest so much and you got to get the right data points, as you say. I think AI is going to have a major...
If you're interested in growing wealth through townhouse development, check out the Little Fish Network. You get coaching, expert access, and community support. It's essentially everything you need to win at property and development. Welcome back to Australia's #1 podcast. We are the Little Fish, and we speak to the big fish about town each and every week. Please, guys, as you know, in 2024, we're donating $1 to our amazing charity EB, Epidermolysis bullosa. Go to the website, littlefishpodcast.com.au. Hit the big pink button, Benny.
That's the one, mate. That's the one. And shout out to everyone that's been doing that. We really appreciate it, and so do the EB research.
100%. Going a long way. We're going to find a cure by 2030 is the goal. So please get behind it. We've got a few events coming up this year as well, which we'll let you guys know about. But super excited. We're back down in God's country, Benny.
Oh, mate.
You know how I say God's country?
Yeah, I know. This is it. I agree.
This is actually God's country. If you have a look around, Bonnie will get the shots out, mate. Amazing part of the world. Jack and Steph have got us back, so thanks again to them.
Yeah, Barwon Heads, man. This place is out of control.
It's like a little secret. You go through that town, and it's
Yeah,
sort of
that's
like
true.
a little
It just
secret.
pops
You
up.
can see the locals, just they don't want anyone else to know.
I remember when I pulled into the car park, PK, there was a dude, or there was maybe 3, 4, 5 guys in their fluoros getting a coffee from the window out here.
Yep.
I actually had a conscious thought and thought, I could throw the fluoros back on if I was down here.
If I was down here, I'd be running around Barwon Heads, emptying bins, having coffee at the Heads every day.
Yeah.
I'd be a happy man.
Oh, mate, you and me both, dude.
But you know what? We've got one of Barwon Heads' finest here.
Yes.
Jules,
one of your favourite topics too, PK.
Well, you know, I did have control over booking a couple of these Barwon Heads guests, and yeah, there's a bit of a theme there for sure. But Jules, amazing to be back down here. Barwon Heads, mate, love it down here.
It's a very cool little place. Yeah, I got lucky probably 2.5, nearly 2 years ago. Just decided to leave the rat race of Melbourne and come down here. Small population, just perfect for a recluse.
Mate, a recluse like you, his head splattered all over every free-to-air channel
Yeah,
you can think of.
It's not ideal, but yeah. Anyway, got to pay the bills somehow.
You got to pay the bills. Spot on, mate. Amazing down here. I'm pretty pumped because I love a punt. I'm a weekend warrior. On Saturday, it is my little vice. But yeah, love diving into it. The reasons why and why not. Very high level compared to someone like yourself. But can you tell me, how does someone get into that? Where did it all start for you? Where did you go to school, and how did you get into the industry of numbers and racing and that sort of thing?
Grew up in Ballarat. Went to school in Ballarat, St Pat's boy. Then did uni at Ballarat. Ended up training to be a teacher. So was a teacher, taught for a year. That sort of, I was going to continue to be a teacher, but I applied for a job at Racing Victoria as a handicapper and was really, really fortunate, really lucky to get it. And that just worked around numbers. So Racing Victoria handicapping job is just around numbers. You're weighting, the best horse versus the worst horse, like the store gift, I suppose.
Yes.
Fastest runner against the slowest runner, and you sort of do that for horses just with weights the jockeys are going to carry. So I did that for 7 or 8 years, but I was always a punter by trade as a kid. And when I went to Racing Victoria under the handicapping section, you weren't allowed to punt. So that became a bit of a grind for me to get through that. I loved what I did at handicapping. It learnt me so much. I learned from some really good people. Greg Carpenter was my boss, and he was fantastic. He taught me so much, probably more on life, probably slightly off the rails, probably still am, but he taught me to stay a little bit, not fly as close to the sun as possible. And then got really lucky by then getting opportunity at Sportsbet as a racing analyst, as a trader for them in Victorian racing, and from there it's gone on.
Yeah, amazing. So 7 or 8 years to not be able to punt as a a young kid in his 20s. It sounded like you said, it was hard, but sounds like you're pretty disciplined as well. And you saw the opportunity, obviously, because someone that isn't disciplined would have got into that and gone, yeah, geez, I'd love a punt on the weekend, and you'd be gone in a year. So to be 7 or 8 years in a discipline that took sacrifice away from something that you did like to do, sounds like you're pretty driven.
Yeah, look, I think when I start something and I really am committed to it, I'll actually put all my energy into it, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I can really focus in on it, and does send me into probably some really interesting loops of tailspin and stuff like that. But that's just the way I was built. And you're right, it was tricky, but I also learnt so much in that time, and it allowed me probably to be the punter I am now and what I have become, because I had that time to actually not focus on the punt as much, but I was just working on numbers and where horses would situate. And I think that's really been a major, big advantage for me going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And even, where I've seen you and the shows you've been on, the level, the intimacy that you've got with the process and the numbers, and compared to the other panelists, I know that's your job, is to be the expert. Theirs maybe not as much, but it is heavens above, deeper and more in tune than anyone else you're sitting alongside.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I make up a lot of stuff, so it's good that you're actually I think it's true. No, and I think I just actually really love getting deep into those kinds of different variables that horse racings provide, or any other sport that I might end up going down, looking at markets. As I say, like the more you dig, the more you want to dig, and it becomes just like toxic for me in a way, because I just love it. I just want more in my veins. So it's good fun, but it's also it can be heartbreaking at the same time.
Would you consider yourself a gambler, or is it more of a market maker, would you say?
No, like I'm definitely a gambler. I mean, I gamble on like what's going to happen between a certain race. So absolutely a gambler. I wouldn't consider myself a professional, because I've got a wage, our bookie arm, the arm that we sort of work on, that my business now that I have with James Jordan that I worked with at Sportsbet, Foxcatcher, that provides me with a wage as a bookmaker. But we set odds and then we bet accordingly. So 100%. But also want to drill down into the market, because at the end of the day, to be a successful punter or a successful gambler, you need to know what's actually driving those prices, what's driving the market. You need to have some real intimate knowledge of why certain things are going certain ways, why a horse is $4 into $2.50, why $2.50 out to $5. What's happening that? It's not just doesn't happen. There's reasons for that.
And how does someone, just an individual that wants to get into sort of figuring markets and stuff out for yourself, how did you initially start to find that information?
It's just a lot of hard work. So you're just looking at the form of each individual horse and why they're moving in certain ways. Is there a particular... is it because the horse has got blinkers first time or something? Is it because they settle in the first 3 in running? Is it because it's better on wet tracks? Is it because it needs a dry track? Is it because this jockey who hasn't ridden it before now goes on and he's got great stats? There's 1,000 and million.
But someone
variables.
knows something and it's moving, and you need to figure
100%.
out why.
And the people that are moving those markets are the big syndicates that are a lot smarter than me. But it's about studying those syndicates and then finding out, and then you can create your own edge from that. And that's the cool part about it.
And even once you figure out why it's moving, and like you say, the big boys are probably the ones that do move it because they've got the muscle. But do you even believe in the reason why they are moving it in a certain way? Like you said, they are smarter, but if your methodology is different,
it could be subjective, right? It's subjective, and you're sitting there going, "Well,
go,
they might think that, but I'm not."
I think I'm seeing it differently, and then suddenly you're getting a better price on your thing.
Yeah, 100%. There's times where you can be against the market. I would sort of say, as a general rule, that any time you're against the market, you might as well and do something like you're in a bad space. I think it's not the right starting point.
Yeah.
But in saying that, the market's not 100% right all the time. It's not a 100% efficient market. So sometimes it's okay to be against the market, but I wouldn't do it consistently. It's always good to ride the wave instead of having to fight against it. And that just comes again from, they're doing it they're bringing that horse in for a certain reason. Do I want to be on that wave, or do I want to be against it? And then after it, okay, that's why they were with it. The market, that's why they were with it. That's why they were against mine. Results could be different, but
So it's making sure you take those lessons and that data as well. That data just stops you from doing it again.
And hopefully, and as human beings, unfortunately, and I'm very slow with this about learning and actually copying the hit. Sometimes I'll just go back to the well, go back to the well, go back to the well, and then you think, okay, I can't do that again because it's not working. Go back to the well. but that's what you need to do. You need to be able to evolve as a person and go, okay, I got that one wrong. I admit that I got that one wrong, and now I need to learn, and I'm not going to do that again. And it might take the third and fourth time, whereas a smarter person might realise straight away. But sometimes a rat could get the cheese before I do, so it just depends.
And it's nice to you back something at sevens, early in the day, and then the smarties come in, and suddenly your horse is $4, and it's like, hey, they're with me. Let's go.
Yeah, and that doesn't guarantee it doesn't guarantee your success. But I tell you what, it's a nice feeling just
your
about
head
when
wobble running into the race.
Just when the barrier's about to open, you're like, we're on the right one here. We're on the right one, but it doesn't guarantee your success because there are so many variables that can occur.
And if it does get rolled, you go, oh, well, me and plenty others. So.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and I started that move, so thanks very much. Yeah.
What about like the risks? Like, do you have like a relationship with addiction? Right, like so I'm not a big gambler. I've never really been a gambler, but it's common that addiction's an issue in gambling. How can you sort of manage, or how do you balance your life as a professional market maker, punter, and how I guess, do you have any understanding of why it hasn't been able to grip you? And it sort of takes.
And you've still got your house. And
still got because it takes no prisoners.
No, it's riding this weekend.
But does that make sense? Like, it's fascinating to me that you've got certain people that can work within the industry, get up each day, and it doesn't, like you said, Pete, doesn't they don't lose their house and their relationships and their families, and then you've got other people that it can bring them to their knees. So. Yeah,
absolutely, and punting's, I mean, to be honest, I think I've got a really addictive personality as well, and that's probably not a great thing, but as you'll learn over the next 45 minutes, you are sitting with a complete psycho. So, it's about, I think, I suppose as much as my personality is addictive, I always know where the line is.
Have you found yourself? That's an interesting question. Have you had to... Because you can lie to yourself, right?
100%.
Addicts,
love doing that
addicts,
too.
Yeah. Addicts, that's what they do. That's their best quality, is they can lie to themselves. Have you found yourself, you've been in this, it sounds like, 10 years or something, over that journey, you found yourself in sticky situations where you thought, am I on the line here? Am I lying to myself? Is this not what I, convincing myself that it is?
It's probably more that the process is whether I've built a database or whatever and it's not working. And it's starting to diminish, and it's like going, got to stop now. We've got to re-canvas this whole thing. You've got to go back to your fundamentals that you believe in, because what you're doing right now ain't going to work if you continually go down that path. So it's about being able to pull myself up and go, okay, let's stop now.
Not being emotional.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, I'm probably a very, very emotional person, but when it comes to punting, extremely unemotional. I always say that... horses you should never fall in love with and never put posters up on your wall, because you might be with them one day, but the next in the race 2 weeks later, I don't want to be with that horse. And it's not because I hate that horse or anything like that. It's about I'm just there looking at every variable, and I've decided that this time I don't think that horse can win.
They're all just numbers, right?
Correct. And as much as I love the animal and I've got emotion to them, and I love what I see when I see horses win in sensational fashion. I love that. I love that bit about the sport. I think it's a passionate sport, and I love that about it. But when you are seriously going to have a punt on a horse and you want to do it successfully and you want to do it for a prolonged period of time, you got to leave it at the door. You just can't have the posters up because it's going to affect how you punt.
And I think that's the answer, that you're not emotionally punting, right? When you're a weekend warrior and you're out there having to punt, and I'd imagine you have a loss, and then you're like, well, there's only one race less and I can't, that's when you start making bad decisions. But it sounds like, you're nowhere near that. You just...
Oh, I'm sure I'll get there at some stage, mate.
I think it's, and it's important to, set those, be disciplined, like we spoke about earlier. It's discipline. And the thing is, because you love it so much, if it did go too far and something did happen, well, then you'd probably lose that, lose everything you've built. So you got to protect what you've created for yourself as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I do absolutely love it. I don't know what else I'd be doing without it sort of in my life, which has been, and I've been really fortunate, like met some really good people that have put me in the right direction, taught me their tricks of the trade, and just take little pieces from each person you meet and go, okay, I'm going to build that into my model, or whatever you learn. You're always looking at things and going, okay, that's the next edge, that's the next angle, this is good. So continually evolving. Like anytime you think you've got this game beat, just jump in the sea, because it's going to
chew you up and spit you out.
Absolutely.
What about greed? Because like I'm just thinking of these human nature sort of things like greed. When you're sitting there and let's say the market's got it at $5, you're sitting there, you're thinking it's at $3, and you guys go and place your bets and whatever, and you're thinking, I'm like, this one's for sure. Yep. You know what I mean? At that point, you're not putting the house on. You know what I mean? You're not making irrational decisions and going, you know what, you're making the decision rationally based on the data, but you're that confident in it that you double your bet, or at the last minute you go, fuck it, put the other 100 in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just see myself doing that.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people do as well. And it's about just sticking to whatever your plan is, whether it's to win a certain amount, no matter what the
so don't
price
get greedy.
Yeah, correct. But there's the human nature of that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt that I do that and I go, okay, I'm going to go again. But you know, and sometimes you go at one, and how good was that? But you got to understand the times it loses. That's the bit that brings you back to reality really quick. And sometimes, as hard as it is to say, having a really bad beat or a bad loss, that you've done everything you thought was right. You know, the $5 out in the market was right. You had it at $3. It ends up starting $3, so you've done your bit right. The horse goes to win or something, and in the last 2 meters or something, the jockey falls off. It's a high level example, but sometimes you need those bad beats.
There's a lot of medicine that gets around that just happens in the sport, doesn't it? You know, the best of things that you just go, how did that happen? You know, a jockey does something. Anyway, we could go down this rabbit hole forever. A jockey, you know.
You boys have got to share some boys,
real war boys. Stories there.
I want one bad loss, and you both give me a bad loss each. Because the reason I don't gamble is because I couldn't handle the loss. Honestly, the bridge over there, I'd be off it. You know what I mean? So I'm smart enough to go, well, you know, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to lose. You know, but
I don't bet big.
You've
so
never
it's
said
not a.
But what about like a crazy story? Not an amount, but something like that. Is there anything?
When a jockey doesn't lead on a bloody Buffalo River, 1400 around Caulfield, and takes a sit behind a 60 to 1 pop, and then can't outsprint him at the end.
I've got a nerve, haven't I?
So just things. Just things like that. But anyway, Jules, you've probably got some bigger ones.
Well, no, it was probably more, I think the Melbourne Cup, I think Twilight Payment won the race. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. I had Tiger Moth to win 6 figures, big number, and it was a European stayer, 3-year-old against the older horses, Northern Hemisphere 3-year-old. And it did everything right. It was one of those. It was a bad beat, but it wasn't a bad beat because it got beaten in the neck. But at the 400 meters, at the 300 meters, at the 200 meters, and at the 100 meters, it was the winner. It was always going to go past Twilight Payment, who was 30 to 1. So you'd always think, oh, this horse was around $6, $7. It's the one that's just going to go past. It was just, I was already counting the cash, and it wasn't a bad. Like I can't blame the jockey. I can't blame anything else about it. But it's one that still sticks with me. There's plenty of bets I've had where there's been the bad ride or whatever it might be. But that's the one that really sticks with me because it had every possible chance, and I just thought it was going to do what I thought it was going to do, and it just couldn't get past Twilight Payment.
Biggest race in the nation too.
Yeah, and I think that, and for me, that's always been my most favourite race because it's the race where there's so much opportunity in it because every mum and dad are having a bet.
The pools
are big, become
big.
Usually, if there's a cool name in the race for whatever reason, the mums and dads will back that.
Benny's always on it, mate. I'm on it.
Yeah, and
Benny's money in there.
Yeah, and becomes sort of a false favourite. So there's so many opportunities that you can bet around that, and that's why it's always been the most fascinating race for me. And I get, it's a big race for everyone. We have a public holiday for it. It actually has. I've been really blessed with it, to be honest. And I say you shouldn't have posters up on walls, but cross counter for me was life changing. When he won the Melbourne Cup, it was pretty exciting.
Nice one. So that's amazing. I could talk that stuff all day, Jules. So you were in the handicapping. You did that for 7 or 8 years. Sportsbet tap you on the shoulder. You knock on their door. You create a relationship in there, and you're working within the markets there and controlling their markets and punting for them. How is that? Because I've got to know you on TV. How what was that like? And then how did you progress into being a presenter and being someone that a lot of people follow?
Yeah, so was trading there and punting for Sportsbet for I think 5 or 6 years, and it was just backroom stuff. That's all you did. It was just purely what you would bet and punt and numbers, and that's all it was. And then Sportsbet ended up going and buying some space on racing.com and Channel 7. So they ended up getting some TV spots. So in essence, they needed talent, or they needed some ambassadors for that. And they went and got Simon Marshall, who I think had been on Channel 7 for a really long time, sensational talent. They went and got him, but they needed someone as a secondary person to SD. And at that stage, I was not interested in it. I hadn't even thought about it. And a really good friend of mine who I now am business with at Foxcatcher, who was at Sportsbet at the time, said, you should do a screen test. Like, just have a crack. They need someone that actually knows the back end about markets and what moves these markets, instead of just getting on there and saying, that horse looks lovely, that this is why it's moving. You got to tell them. And I was like, not my go. Just didn't want to do it. Anyway, I did a screen test. I think I was possibly 0.25 when I did it. Needed some Dutch courage to try and get through it. And I thought it went terribly. And the Sportsbet team got back to me and went, yeah, you've got it. You've got the job. So you'll go on and end up being on racing.com and whatever else radio stuff that happens. And I just was beyond petrified, because it just wasn't my go. And to be honest, now it's still not my go. I prefer just the numbers and the betting side of it. But I love that I can now bring the story of what I see on the trading floor into people's homes, because I don't think they've ever had that opportunity. I think it's really lacked that racing hasn't been able to tell that narrative for whatever reason before. But I think I was able to do that, and I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah, correct. And I think someone that does follow it along. There's pros out there that say, hey, this is what I think, but you're actually bringing data, you're bringing another edge to the punters at home, which I think, so refreshing, and that's why you've no doubt got your fans out there that go, hey, this guy, he digs deep, this guy.
Yeah, and I've always done that. And I think it's hard for people to still watch and go, hang on, this guy works for a bookmaker and he's telling me what to bet on or whatever. And that's sort of not been my go. The idea is to say, this is why this horse is favourite for whatever reason. This is why this horse isn't favourite. It's about educating the person at home, because at the end of the day, you want them to continually reinvest. Now, with anything, if you're not very good at something, you're going to probably give it up pretty quickly. Yeah. But if you can continue to know something about something, you'll continue to actually put some time and effort into it. And that's sort of always been my ethos for that, is to try and educate people into, okay, learning more about the numbers behind why these things are happening. And then hopefully they continue to actually love the product of horse racing or whatever it might be, because there's actually more than just horses running around a circle.
Do you get pushback? Like the magicians when they reveal the secrets and stuff.
I really like that too.
Yeah, because it's true, right? Because you're out there going, hey, no one knows why this market's moving. It's meant to be a secret, right? Because they're manipulating the market, and you're, the investigator that's figuring it out, and then you're taking it to the everyday people and saying, hey, those guys that are manipulating the market, this is why they're doing it. So I'd imagine you might be ruffling some feathers.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and I've never had that feedback to me, touch wood, but I can see the point of view. But the big syndicates and the big guys that move the markets, they're not worrying about
hand over fist.
Yeah, correct. So that's fine. But everyone's been really encouraging of it and just going, okay, well, that's something I didn't know. And at the end of the day, whether you like me or not, that's not the point. The point is just to be able to maybe have learnt something that you didn't know beforehand, and then you can put that in your back pocket and use it the next time that race meeting's at that track or whatever it might be. When that horse runs again, it needs to have certain things in its favour for it to have success.
Yeah, 100%. I think you know what it's like, us doing property development and then telling people how we figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly what you do on a daily.
I was thinking about.
Is sharing and giving, which then brings people along for the ride. Yeah.
Well, that's right, because not everyone wants to do for us. Not everyone, wants to hire a property development company, right?
That's right.
But the ones that do, they'll find us that way, sort of thing.
Yeah, and it builds trust and
I think that's a key word there. To build
correct.
trust. Because
People trust the
gambling
message
is
when they trust the messenger.
100%. And at the end of the day, gambling's got this connotation that it's all cloak and daggers and everything's behind the scenes and this is happening and this is happening. But you just try and give as much information as you can about it's not all dark, seedy stuff. Some of it is, and that's good. But most of it is just actual mathematics that is happening here.
Yep.
Horse has to go from point A to point B the fastest possible way, and you try and break that down a little bit for
With
them.
all the variables. Can I ask, the AI, this sounds like it's perfect fit for AI, right? Because AI is all about pulling from data points. So a model, is that something, I'd imagine that there'd be plenty of people investing out there, but what about you guys? Are you guys trying to build a model using AI?
Yeah.
How's that working?
Yeah, 100%. So at Foxcatcher, we're trying to build a model, absolutely. You just got to invest so much and you've got to get the right data points, as you say. I think AI is going to have a major part to play in that, probably in the next 5 to 10 years as well. I think that's going to continue to evolve. But you need also the manual brain part of it to punch in certain things that AI can't capture.
And does that make that I think that's what would position you guys at Foxcatcher in a really good spot, right? Because you guys are getting the data from the front line, and then you're on the front line. So it sounds like you're small enough and nimble enough to be able to control the narrative of the model that you're building, as opposed to these big companies that would be, a lot more convoluted, I would say.
Yeah.
So is that? Yeah, I reckon that's almost like a secret weapon for you guys.
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, we're still sort of working on it. You're always developing. I've built my own database, and I'm happy with where it is now. But it's going to have to continue to evolve because there's certain edges that were big edges 2 or 3 years ago that are not edges.
Have you got one
now.
You can share?
Yeah, so about 3 or 4 years ago, we looked at 2-year-olds in maiden grade against older horses. It was just an absolute way to print money. It was just unbelievable. Their success was huge. It was just a high statistical number. You just had to be with it. June, July, August, it was just a gold mine. And then we looked back at it again probably 18 months later, and that edge had gone. And so, but still people were still betting into that market because they thought, oh, that's an edge forever. Yeah. So the price, say for example, when we first did it in July was $5 for that 2-year-old against the older horses. Then when we did it again, say 18 months later, 2 years later, that $5, the market had cottoned onto those 2-year-olds and now was $3. So all of a sudden there was this edge completely gone. Nothing had changed. It's just the market had caught up, and now the opening price that the market put out was very different and cottoned onto it. And the edge was completely gone. And to be honest, it would now overcorrected the other way and was actually a losing, bet type that if you were to do. So now you've got to try and find the new one. What's the next one? What's the next one? What's the next one? But that was always a really good example because I remember I spoke about that on racing.com however many years ago. And then I'd see it still pop up 2 or 3 years later, people saying, oh, this is a great edge. And I'm like, edge gone, brother. Edge
that sounds like a cliff.
Gone a long time ago. So you just got to be aware of that.
Yeah, awesome, Jules. So can you talk to us about, you've mentioned Foxcatcher, you're working for Sportsbet, you and your mate James. Talk to us, you've gone out, you've started your own play. Sounds all really exciting and, some other things happening there. What drove you to do that and what was that like? Yeah,
so it was scary. We'll start with that.
Yeah.
Sort of, obviously, the Sportsbet journey was trading, form analyst, and then getting the opportunity to be the ambassador for them. Probably in the last 2 or 3 years, I was at Sportsbet. So me being at one place for say 7 or 8 years is always scary because I need a challenge. I need to be moving on. I can get really restless with certain things.
Yep.
So that helped me continue to evolve at Sportsbet, having that ambassador role and the TV role. And then it got to a point where I was sort of writing and presenting 3 to 4 different shows, and then I got in my head and I was like, well, what's the next step here? And I'd always been speaking to James, who was on racing.com at the time, so we'd sort of stay in touch because he was at Sportsbet and he left Sportsbet to go back home to live in the Adelaide Hills and work at racing.com. And then we just decided that we thought there was, with COVID, after COVID, a lot of you couldn't go to the racetracks or anything like that. So a lot of the on-course bookies actually popped up online. And so there was now a platform that had provided people with an opportunity to become bookmakers. Now, that in itself is not very easy. That's a really hard thing to get a license and have the money behind you to put up and all that kind of stuff. So that was a process in itself. But we just started spitballing it around, going, "What do you reckon? Can we have a go? Is this achievable?" And James, who I would say is, and he would be okay in me saying this, a lot more conservative and vanilla than me. So when I come out with many ideas, he's usually, yeah, good on you, mate, and shuts the door. But when he sort of gave it half a hope, I was like, I got him here. I got him here. And so then it was just a process that we did that. And obviously I went to Sportsbet and said, look, this is what's going to happen. And they wanted to probably keep me out of the game for 18 months, which wasn't going to be achievable. And, I've had major... Yeah, I think the way they handle it was really poor, but that's, they've got a lot of good people there. They've just got some really poor people in high leadership, I think, and, they'll get their turn sometime. But
they always do.
But
coming for you. Deleting the app today. Not that I even have it.
But so we decided to go down the path, and we James had the brand already, Foxcatcher, with his horses. He breeds horses and things like that, and we thought, well, that's a pretty cool brand. It's a nice, catchy name. It's got a cool logo with sort of a fox, and we had a crack, and we became a band of two plus one other. I brought one of my really good friends from Sportsbet who did a power of work from me, Tommy Kneebone. He came across as well, and we just wanted to keep our business really, really lean to be successful in this bookmaking sort of skin game where there's so many, like there's more than 100. You just cannot have overheads. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to crash and burn. So we kept it really lean. We've done all the work in terms of if a customer has an issue and comes through chat, you're talking to James or I or Tommy. So we just 24 hours immersed ourselves into this Foxcatcher brand, which we've been open now I think for 18, 19 months, and it's the most exciting thing, challenging thing that we've ever done. Would we do it again? Maybe not, because it's been hard, but, and now we've sort of probably got a bit of a rainbow as well, which is even better.
Talk to us about what, for the people following along at home and us non-gamblers, so what is Foxcatcher then? So what do you guys do?
So we're actually a bookmaker. So you can come now, you would come to online and you can go into our app and you can place a bet on any racing product, any sport you want. You can have that bet with us. So we would take your bet. So put money in your account and then you win. Well, we'll give you your money plus more, or you lose. Unfortunately, we'll take it and we'll go on from there.
Something, Jules, that we mentioned before when you got here earlier on was a challenge for you of going, hey, I'm this professional, because the thing is, to that Foxcatcher platform, a big part of it is you and James, which, you guys have built trust. You guys are authorities in the space. You've dropped off our screens, off our free-to-air screens, and then gone onto your platform. You've had fans follow. I'm definitely one of them that go there to seek out your advice, seek out your thoughts. You're giving that, and then you're saying, and you can bet with us, but you're the bookie. And to a little degree, you know what's going to happen, or you've got confidence in what's going to happen. And those people punting have confidence that you have confidence. Sounds like that was a challenge to get them to, hey, come bet with us, because imagine your price wouldn't have been that juicy.
Yeah, and that's been the biggest lesson for us, that we went in.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like I just kept, that's
we went into this thinking this was going to be our biggest advantage, our biggest edge, that we were going to be able to provide content for the punters, and then obviously then they can come and follow the journey with us, but they're betting with us. But in essence, they're betting against us. And our major play was our content space, and we found that when we were liking a horse, we said, we really like this horse, you should be backing it. We're actually saying, and we were saying this on air, we were saying, well, we're actually shorter in the market because we like this horse. You should go and back this horse elsewhere.
Somewhere else, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and when we didn't like a horse, we thought we gave reasons why this horse wasn't going to win. We would be best price in the market. And we're saying, come bet with us because it's the best price in the market.
Because it's shit.
Look, yeah, correct. And what people were doing, though, is they're going, hang on, they're the best price, so I could back it with them. But they sort of might know more than me, so why would I back that horse now? So it became a real issue for us, and still is to this day, that we think that was probably where we thought was going to be a great advantage for us. Actually, it was a disadvantage.
It's counterintuitive.
Correct, 100% it was. And so, and the other part to that is when we didn't like a horse, sometimes they would win as well. So some people, were getting on that because we're not 100% right. Absolutely not. But we found it from a business model that something that we thought was going to be a major, big play for us wasn't. And so we sort of cut back the content a little bit as well because of that. And we just tried to work really hard on customer service and getting the relationship with clients because we found that it wasn't moving the needle how we wanted it to move. But some sort of exciting things in the future that we can do that is going to help that space, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Are you happy to, go into, what's transpiring, transpired/transpiring with Foxcatcher? Because that sounds super exciting.
Yeah, so we when we first had this plan, James and I, it was probably going to be a 3-year plan, that we'd do it for 3 years and then get out. Now, whether that meant we just got out and moved on, or if someone would try and buy us and then we could go from there. And probably we're now, as I said, 18, 19 months in, we've really got super, super lucky that one of the bigger players in the Australian market has come on board and actually bought us out. So PointsBet have come along to the party, and we are very blessed for that because this is a very saturated market with bookmakers exactly like us. And
well, I would argue not exactly like you. Like there's levels to everything, Jules. Yeah. And from an outsider sitting in, I didn't watch you on the free to air because I'm not a gambler, but sounds like you're an OG. And do you know what I mean? You're someone that was
the content side of what he brought.
Yeah.
Was the game changer.
Was the game changer? Yeah. You've blazed the path, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably why Sportsbet were dirty when you left, because they knew they had the guy. And sorry to cut you off, but
no, 100%. Yeah, at the end of the day, PointsBet are buying James and I from the content point of view because we think there's probably not much value outside of that. But we think the content arm, the actual Foxcatcher Intel brand, is really got some great equity in it. Yeah. And James and I have worked really hard with that, and we don't want to lose that as well. So we love the fact that PointsBet are actually going to continue that brand within their brand as well, and that's really exciting for us. And we're really appreciative. But it was a great deal. We're really happy with it, and sort of a byproduct of that is, I've gone across and will work with PointsBet, and was sort of like under the proviso. I made it very clear I do not want to be back on TV. I want to be behind the scenes. I'm happy to ghostwrite. I'll do some stuff for you. Anytime you've got people on TV, I'll help them out and I'll provide them with stats and data. And that was great. We sort of got going for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then they knocked on the door and go, we've got a show on Channel 9 called Footy Furnace with Jimmy Bartell and Lee Matthews and Tom Morris. We're struggling to get someone on. You're our man. And I was like, no, I'm not. And they went, yeah, you are. You're on next Sunday. So that's where we are now.
Yeah, amazing. The recluse from Bowen Heads trying to stay out of the way.
Yeah.
Bang, back on free to air.
Out of the basement.
Yeah, out of the dark room. But, mate, how amazing, that career to become that authority and that expert in the space, to do your own thing, sell it to the big boy. Like, it's everyone's dream.
PK. We're here again, dude.
Yeah, we're here, he gives. And that's the thing, as Benny said, and I attest to that. There's heaps of apps out there, but the people aren't there, and it's what you bang on about. You need your authority. Yeah.
People fall in love with people, not brands, right?
Yeah,
that's these days. It used to be the brands because there was no social media and cut through. But these days, people want to follow people, man, not brands.
Well, there's such, like you say, it's so saturated. Who do I like? Who do I fall in love with? And like we always say, people's Instagram, the individual's Instagram is always bigger than the company's Instagram, and all this sort of stuff. And that's what you and James, I think, were able to do and will continue to do, because all these other little apps that I could reel off, a dozen. Who is it? Why is it? Are they going to be around tomorrow? I'll go in.
Have they got the credibility, man? 12 years of sitting in the back room, crunching numbers and chasing the big, following the big syndicates, man. So, I do have a question. It might sound a bit of a silly question. Right?
No silly questions.
But here's what I'm thinking. If I was you, what would I do? Listening, right, and a recluse, and you've gone into the big companies, you've made the markets, you've gone out into the business and you're becoming the bookie, you've done the content. Me, I'm thinking, if I knew what you knew, I'd probably stay in the basement. No one would know I'd exist, and I'd just be using the information. Like, couldn't you just become, if you know that your model is even at 52%, right? Like, that if you bet 2%, you just know that you're going to stay out in front. Isn't it a matter of just putting capital in and pulling it back out?
That's probably where the end game is for that.
Hello.
That it's probably, again, another challenge that will occur in the evolution of myself and probably James as well, that we'll probably get to a point where we go, okay, we're going to have a full-blown crack at this.
Yeah.
The bookmaking part was part of it. That was a big risk in itself, because if that failed, we wouldn't have had any cash at all. We've made good coin out of that. But now we've sold to PointsBet, and we're really excited about that, and we want to be with the journey with them for as long as we can possibly be. But does that challenge for me come in 4 or 5 years where I go, okay, now the next challenge is me versus the market purely by myself, and I can get back into that dead zone of the blacked out windows.
It's crazy because I know, I'm not going to shout him out, but you know, a professional gambler that I know, right? He lived in, it's one of my best mates, so shout out that guy. I don't want to throw him under, only because it's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Lived in Hong Kong, right? Penthouse, live in the life for years, man. As we were kids growing up and stuff. Now, like living in the back room of his sister's joint.
Yeah, right.
Because he did it. He did do it, but it sounds like. I think actually,
the better of him by the sound of it.
I'll tell you what happened. So he's a generation older than you, or maybe 2 generations. And what's happened, I think, how we used to do it manually and it used to work and whatever over there, and he was making money hand over fist. But the game changed of him, and he lost it all, man.
And that's what happens. The game is continually evolving, and you have to continue to try and be a step
because
ahead.
He's not a technology guy, because he's an older, I'd say he'd be, late 50s, early 60s. He just wasn't able to, keep up with the technology, started to lose, and literally from penthouse in Hong Kong to the back room.
And it's always there as a reminder that's a very good reminder or very bad reminder of what actually can happen.
And I think you're only one bad decision away.
You just got to continue to be, as I said, a step, because if you're actually bang on with the market, you're still behind it. You need to try and find the edge. You need to continue just to be just that half a step ahead. And you only need to be half a step. But if you're half a step behind, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, you just death by 1,000 cuts.
Correct.
Yeah, amazing. Love it. That sounds super exciting as far as, being the pro punter, the big numbers, moving the market. Maybe you got to mature a little bit. Is it? I feel like it's something could that get big on you?
I'd get real big on me, which is what I want. I like things getting real big on me real quick, because I don't have the mental capacity to deal with it. And so what comes from that, the byproduct of that, is some real interesting stuff that people see externally. So I look forward to that actually happening, getting real big on me.
No, it sounds amazing. And that's the thing, I guess, congratulations, well done, starting the biz, selling it off to the big boys, and now back on the camera, so see how long that goes. That's the thing, people are always their own worst critic, but, you do bring a lot of value on the camera, so I can see why they're throwing you back into the mix, but, see how long that goes. But that sounds exciting.
Yeah, and it's a new challenge for me, so sort of talking on AFL is another product, and I grew up playing footy, played footy and all that kind of stuff, but I haven't drilled into it, the market. But the market is so interesting with AFL as well, that it's just forming, whereas horse racing's formed and it's now pretty efficient. The AFL market's probably a little bit behind that, but it's come on leaps and bounds in the last 2 or 3 years because of great modelling, and probably AI as well has had massive impact on that. But it's great to really now drill down into the AFL markets, because there is some real fascinating stuff going on there that I'm pretty excited to talk about, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing. I see you and listening to you for the last 40 minutes or so is you start getting into some of these other markets with your in-depth knowledge of markets, just obviously now in different fields. You're probably going to go, hold on, what's going on over here? What's going on there? You're going to be like, people are missing something here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's already been, I think we're, so many rounds into footy, and there's so many little things that the market's missing at the moment. So next year, the market won't miss it, but it's missing it at the moment. We talk back to that 2-year-old stuff 4 years ago. It's a little bit like that. There's some real big advantages at the moment, but those advantages are only going to last a little bit longer.
Are they quantitative or qualitative sort of, you know what I mean? Are they like statistical advantages? Is that
It's not so much statistical. It's probably knowing. It's more of a feel.
so quantitative? So you're more looking at it.
Yeah,
and get a feel
just
from
with and
experience,
look, to be honest, the actual one of the concrete examples is that the Western Bulldogs play a few games down now in Ballarat at Mars Stadium, and I grew up playing at that footy ground, and you know that there's actually, when the wind comes, it comes across the ground and it actually is diabolical. So it actually will stay on one side of the ground, and low scoring is always low scoring is always going to happen, because it's just a ground that is hard to move the footy across from one to the other because the wind has so much impact. But when that ground has no wind whatsoever and is a beautiful day, again, Ballarat, beautiful day, so you got to pick your moments. It is one of the highest scoring grounds probably in Australia. And I think it was round 2 or 3, the Bulldogs played a team down there, and I looked at the weather, and the weather was beautiful. 21 degrees on a Sunday, no wind whatsoever, which again doesn't happen too often. But the total point line, as I get really into this, so sorry, it's probably really boring, but the total,
No, we love it.
Loving it.
The total point line is the amount of points scored by each team at the end of the game. So I think it was sitting at about 174.5. So it's saying that each team's probably going to score, about 85 plus, something like that. So it was really high, 174. It was really low. It was like 100. What was it? It was like 160.5, because every game at that place had been low scoring. So all the modelling had worked on the fact that
just
this
on
was
the history,
on the history. So it was like, oh yeah, it's going to be.
That's AI for you.
Yeah. And that's
Anyway.
what I mean by the quantitative and qualitative, right? You can, and that's why you guys are so important, because you can have the same data but interpret it different.
And anyway, we heavily backed the overs, because it was like, no, this is a beautiful day. So instead of that 158.5 or 160.5, it's going to end up being, anyway, I think they scored 188.5, 189 or 190. It was huge.
Do you work
in
out the
terms
probability of that as well?
Yeah, I think
Do you know
that's
what I mean?
that's
Like
the
when
important part. So a price actually is the probability of a selection winning. And I think that's what a lot of people need to get their head around as well, is that, when people say, oh, it's a $2 favourite, they go, oh, that's going to win. Do you know what the probability of that is? It's a 50% chance. Yeah. So it's as much as like in horse racing in particular, you go, this is a $2 favourite. And everyone goes, well, that's just going to win. Like, it has to win, doesn't it? It's a $2 favourite. Like, the next best is $6 or whatever it might be. But it's like, well, the actual probability of that is a 50% chance.
Toss a coin.
Yeah, you're flipping. It's a head or tail. When people start to realise that, and then they go, oh, okay, it just changes their pattern or their behaviours just a little bit, because I think a lot of people will go, well, I'm going to have my big bet on this $2 favourite. But you're still only a 50-50.
That's me, man. That's me. I'm going the $2 and I can't find a way to put it on the 6. Yeah. I'm going, how do you go to the 6, dude? Are you joking?
Yeah, but you're only a 50-50 chance of winning that race. So again, it's just, and that's just sort of probably a very easy, simple data point. But
how difficult to explain that probability to get to the 50-50 if you've got, say 10 horses in the race, you're at $2. How does that work out at 50-50?
So what usually happens is when you've got a field of, say, 10, it should be set at 100%. So the win probability should equal, of the 10 horses, should equal 100%. Yep. So $2 equals 50%, $4 equals 25%, $10 or $11 equals 10%. So you get it all, that it all should marry up to 100%. And that's where you get, and then you can sort of work it out from
I never
there.
knew that. Great question, because that intrigues me, but I never knew that.
Yeah, and a lot of the markets are set
all that PK has a gamble. It's the only thing that matters, right? Is the probability.
Yeah, correct. And that's the thing. So you need to work out that,
I understand the probability, but more so they all equal to
100, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's how like a punter should market theirs to 100%. Now, we know the bookmakers will set their markets to say 120, 125%. So, and then as it gets closer to the race, it starts to decrease in value all the way down to as close to 100% as we can get. But yeah, it's fascinating.
Can you explain that? I don't get that bit. So how can you be 120?
So a bookmaker's obviously going to try and make some margin to obviously make. So if it was a 100% market, they're saying that there's no real margin for them to actually make anything out of the product. So they add extra percentages to certain horses. So instead of the horse being $2, it might be $1.90. But in essence, at 100% market, it's actually a $2 pop. But when it becomes 120% market, that $2 becomes $1.90.
It's not a fixed 100%. They have to play inside those lines.
But as a punter, you should play to the 100% market. So you're not taking what you consider unders when the bookmaker goes up. But that's a little bit, higher level stuff than just sitting around the pub and just throwing $50 on.
I could do. I could sit in the room with you.
That'd be good, man. Well, see how long you last. Get me out of this bloke. He's not normal.
Because if you're playing with 150% market, you're offering up unders across the board. Yeah. And as the punter, you go, well, you're unders. Like you can't. I'm not going to bet with you. And
the higher the percent, the worse for the punter. Yeah. So as low as it can be for the punter, is as low as close as it can get to 100% is better for the punter.
Yes.
Yep. So that's how that works.
I've got one more because I know I've got a million questions. I've got one more. Have you ever thought about starting another thing that I would have done as well? I would have thought or an obvious thing, just a syndicate. You're talking about these big syndicates that have got lots of money. Someone like yourself that you've been on the free to air. You're recognised as an authority. There wasn't a time where you thought. Or people approaching you, I would have thought, some rich dudes that get greedy and go, hey, let's talk to Jules. He knows what he's doing. Has the syndicate been something that you've considered? Or
yeah, there's definitely been people that have come forward and asked whether I'd be interested in something like that, and it's just not something that I'm. For me, punting's such a personal thing, and then to be able to, the more heads you bring into something, the more issues that occur. So it's something that I would do with someone close like a James or someone like that we could be the two, but I wouldn't go any further than that. I'll never sell my tips to people.
Yeah, right. That was one of my questions because they used to do that on Facebook back in the day. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's just not something I would do. A lot of people do it, and that's fine, and that's no issue with me. It's just not something would have ever feel comfortable doing.
It's tough when they lose.
It can be quite a thankless task as well. True. Just in retrospect, it's so obvious, isn't it?
Well, you can tip 3 winners on the day. Yeah. But if your last one loses, you're a dog. Yeah. And that you're only remembered, as you said, you're only remembered as good as your last bet. And so, it's just something.
That's why Pikey's such an icon.
Well, yeah, Pikey in the last, absolutely. I'd love to do the numbers on that too. I don't think it's actually as successful as what people think. Yeah. I think it was an edge a while ago. Yep. I think that edge is gone. I think the market might have cottoned onto it. But, it's just not something that I'd feel comfortable doing in my own skin. And I've done a lot of silly and bad things, but that's one thing that I probably won't do.
Yeah, so when you talk about maybe down the track playing a proper pro punter would be people that would be your closest and dearest, and it'd be people that understand, because that's the thing, we do property development for a living and syndicates evolve in that, and there's the same thought is that if this doesn't work out, you need to be a big boy, you need to know what you've got yourself involved in, and if it doesn't play out, you've got to realise that I don't give a shit what you think, sort of thing, like we're here doing our best. So it'd be a play like that. Yeah,
it was probably similar to what we did with the bookmaking. That it was James and I. That was a big punt to be able to trust each other, to be able to go down that path and do it, and believe that each person could do what they were supposed to do and follow through with that. And we sort of fulfilled, our parts on that, and we're really happy with that. So maybe that would be something that James and I would do, but I wouldn't be spreading the blanket too far. That's for sure.
Yeah. Amazing. This has been an awesome chat, Jules.
Yeah, this has been epic.
Diving into the nuances of it all. And mate, congratulations, an exciting journey that you've been on, and now that what's unfolding from here sounds like you've got a bit still to achieve. No,
I really appreciate that, and as I said, when you first sort of rang and said that this was going to be happening, like the whole Ashton Kutcher jumping out of a bin and being punked. So I'm just waiting for that to happen in the next 2 minutes or something.
So Bonnie, gotcha.
And that's great. That'll be good. But no, thank you for having me on. It's been a blast.
Yeah, and that's the thing, mate. A genuine authority in your space, an expert, like you said, full nerd, full psycho. Love it.
We'll drop all the links below.
Yeah. And look, just. It's something that I just love. It's just I think that's with anything. If you're passionate about it, you'll get somewhere. Yeah. If you're that passionate about it and believe that much in it. So I'm very fortunate in the life I've had thus far, and however long I've got left, maybe not much longer, but we'll just keep on doing that.
See how the Bucks Day goes over in Toronto.
Yeah, it's going to be, it could be the end of it, to be honest. I don't do things in halves.
I think, and just before closing, Benny, obviously we speak to a lot of people. I think sitting next to Jules is somebody that just did something he wanted to do. Like, talk about niche. You know what I mean? Going and being a handicapper, like,
just following your heart, man. I was going to say I didn't want to interrupt again, but the lesson that I've got from here is, Jules, you didn't figure out where you were going to go. You didn't pick a destination and go there. Do you know what I mean? You just followed your heart and did what you loved. You didn't follow money or anything like that. You kind of just followed what you liked doing, and it's taking you on this awesome journey and giving you a great opportunity. And I think that's a great lesson for people at home, because so many people they want to have it figured out. Like, I've got to get there. How am I going to get there? But you just got to keep turning up, and you've got to take risks, right?
That's
and you've got to
been
back yourself in.
That's the big one, is that the challenge. So I'm scared every time I do something, but petrified.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely really scared that this the right call. But I just lean into it. And I know that it might go really pear-shaped, but I'm happy to cop
and
all
you take
the injuries
lessons
that come from it.
Yeah, well, and that's almost like an analogy to how you're running your business as well, right? Because you're happy to lean into it. You get burnt, you go shit, and you learn that lesson, and then you go again. Yeah. But it is it's a crazy journey, and we love sharing these extraordinary stories because you are doing something that's really, really different. And
making a good go of it,
and
too,
you're making a good go of it, and there's no path that's been blazed before you, right? It's just figured itself out because you're a good dude, and you just keep turning up, working hard, taking risks. Work hard, take risks, and things work out.
Thanks, guys.
Well done, Jules.
I really like that.
Amazing chat. Share this with anyone that's going to get value, guys. Loved it. Awesome chat, and great to be back down here and not sunny anymore, but Barwon Heads, it's still beautiful,
hasn't it?
mate.
It's turned very quickly.
This is what it is down here.
Still beautiful, man.
It's still beautiful, man. 100%. This is the retirement spot, apparently. Please, guys, like, share, subscribe. Give to our amazing charity, EB, Epidermolysis bullosa. Jump onto the big pink button, littlefishpodcast.com.au. See you at the top!
You!
People want to be part of a winning team.
People can find a better version of themselves if they choose.
You just need to go start some shit.
Action is all that matters.
Be a man of your word.
I think I look back now and I'm like, whoa, that took some guts.
Be kind, be kind, be kind.
See you at the top! New episode every Wednesday.